Good morning, guys, and welcome to week 2. This week we're going to kind of focus on radicals yet again, but we're going to start off with adding and subtracting them. Okay, now with adding and subtracting radicals, we view this first one right here. We'll start with adding. 3 radical 7 plus 9 radical 7. Now the first thing I'm going to point out is radicals. Like, we're not going to be finding the square root of that. No decimals in this particular section. You'll notice that really quick. But with adding and subtracting, one of the first things we start to do with them is when you add or subtract, the radicals have to be alike. Okay, so they need to be the same type of radical. Now, since they technically are here, and what I mean by that is radical 7 is alike radical 7 over here. So if they're alike, I am allowed to add these two together. Now, what do you in fact add? You can only add basically the coefficients out front. So when I do 3 radical 7 plus 9 radical 7, the only two numbers technically that I will only be in fact adding together are those coefficients up front. So again, what is 3 plus 9? 12. And 12 radical 7. Because again, we are not going to add the radicals together, because again, that was the whole reason why they were alike. So the simplified answer of that summation question, adding them together, is in fact 12 radical 7. All right, next one here, just adding and subtracting. If I'm going to subtract these two, the first thing you have to kind of look at is to see if they are alike. So again, since I only have 2 terms here, I have 3 radical 2. Minus radical 2. Now again, these are alike to each other. They both possess and they share the same radical. Now here's one thing we have to all think about, and the first one did not have this in. I'm about to subtract these two, so always pay attention to the symbol. But we have to realize again here, there's a 3, and that one's pretty obvious, and there's really no number here. So let's not forget, this kind of goes back to like variables. If radical 2 does exist, it does not, and I repeat, not mean that the coefficient is 0. What number can I technically put in front of there then? If there's no number, I can put, remember, your good old pal, 1. Okay, now that I have a number there, it's pretty obvious that I could subtract those two, and again, because they are alike. So again, when I do 3 radical 2 minus 1, which I just added in because there's no number there, radical 2, I again am only technically subtracting 3 minus 1. So what is 3 minus 1? 2. And again, what comes after that in your answer, and let's not forget, radical 2. Because again, that was what we were in fact subtracting because they were in fact alike to each other. So the simplified answer of that question is 2 radical 2. All right, let's move on to this third one right here. And here again, I have now just more terms. Okay, so they're going to expand and get a little longer. It's not always going to be 2-term expressions with radicals. I have 2 radical 2 plus 5 radical 2 minus radical 2 plus 3 radical 2. Okay, and again, the first thing you should always ask yourself as we proceed throughout the week with this is, all of the radicals are in fact alike. So I can add and subtract and do any operations they're asking me to do right now. So here I have a 2, I have a 5, and again, I'm going to slip a little number in here. It doesn't have it, but I'm going to put a 1 there because it in fact does have a value of 1 radical 2. And you can only do 1. And then I also have my plus 3 radical 2. Again, all 4 terms are in fact alike. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to proceed left to right. I'm going to add 2 and 5, get 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. And 6 plus 3 is 9. And again, they all were alike. So I would love to hear you guys say it out loud, but that's not how we're going to do things for the next couple of weeks. It's going to be 9 radical 2. Because in fact, they were all alike. And last but not least, I'm just trying to make these videos not crazy long. Fourth example, last one for this type, is again, I have 3 terms here, and the radicals are not all exactly the same. So let's kind of go through them all right here. -3 radical 5, minus radical 6 minus 3 radical 5. So let me just point out again what we've been doing before. I'm going to add my little 1, my little safety 1, so I physically see a number. And then, my feet. Okay, now see how these three terms right here, I can't subtract all three of them to each other. This one right here and this one right here. They both have in common, again, a radical 5. So these two terms, I can only combine those two. I can't combine this with the other two again because look, it says radical 6, so they're not alike. So I'm just going to combine the two ones I can. And again, just like the previous three, whether you're adding or subtracting, and here we are subtracting again, what is negative 3 minus 3? And again, you're going further into the negatives, negative 6. Again, followed by, what was the radical that they shared? Radical 5. That number never changes just because they're alike. Now, if you combine just these two, I'm going to cross them out. I don't want to use them again or accidentally say, okay, mess up my answer. Second part is, here's my second term that is not really combinable with anything else. So guess what? That's not going to change at all. So I'm simply just going to bring that down and get this as my final answer. Because sometimes I can't simplify as much as I possibly can. We have negative 6 radical 5 minus 1 radical 6. Or again, most of the time in an official multiple choice answer, that 1 really won't be there, guys. So again, here's my simplified answer of adding or subtracting radicals.